Did you know that Tim Burton didn't actually direct The Nightmare Before Christmas? The Halloween Christmas mashup came out in 1993, was produced by Burton, and was adapted from a poem of the same name that Tim Burton wrote while working at Disney. There, he met the man who would go on to direct The Nightmare Before Christmas, Henry Selick, in his feature directorial debut. Tim Burton's first professional job after graduating from the California Institute of Arts was at Disney, where he worked on films like The Fox and the Hound and Tron as an animator, storyboard artist, and graphic designer in the early 1980s. Working at Disney was not what Burton wanted as a long-term career, though. Disney possesses a house style for all of their animators, and they never want it deviated from. Back in 1989, when Burton was working on Batman, a Warner Brothers film, he talked to the New York Times and described his time at Disney. It was a terrible gig. You're strapped to a table all day and you have to draw. I just flipped out. Luckily, Burton continued to produce his own art and even wrote a short film that Disney funded in 1982. The film, Vincent, was a stop-motion animated film about a lanky, strange child named Vincent Malloy, who thinks he's Vincent Price. Price actually narrated the film, which channeled Edgar Allan Poe. It was great, a very nice thing to do, Burton said. In 1983, Burton directed his first live-action short for Disney, rendering his own version of Hansel and Gretel. It was made for the Disney Channel, but only aired a couple of times on October 29th and again on Halloween night. Even though Disney didn't necessarily like Burton's rendition of Hansel and Gretel, they still allowed him to make one final short film before the end of his tenure at Disney. In 1984, he made the live-action short Frankenweenie. Frankenweenie was about a young boy named Victor Frankenstein who tragically loses his pet bull terrier to a car accident. Inspired by his science teacher, the boy uses electricity to bring his dog back to life. The dog is eventually chased through the streets to a remote windmill, just like in the original Frankenstein. This time, however, the windmill is part of a miniature golf course. Burton's time at Disney not only gave him some valuable experience, but it also allowed him to connect with other like-minded artists and creative. He made friends with a sculptor and other animators who brought his Nightmare Before Christmas style of drawings to life. Disney, however, wasn't a fan of it and would not allow him to make a film out of it while he worked for them. But they also wouldn't let him keep it since he conceived of it while working for them. After Burton left Disney, Frankenweenie caught the eye of Paul Reubens, who hired Burton to direct the 1985 film Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Burton's feature film directing debut. After its success, Burton went on to direct other hits such as Beetlejuice in 1988 and Batman in 1989. Despite the massive amount of success he had obtained in such a short time, Burton could not stop thinking about the poem he created all of those years ago. So, Burton approached Disney and asked them if he could buy his art and story back from them. Instead of selling it back to him, they gave him $18 million to make the film however he wanted. He was also under contract with Warner Brothers to make Batman Returns at the same time, though. I honestly don't know why he had to do both of them at the same time. I've tried looking it up, but I can't find an actual answer other than he was just under contract to do both. Is there another reason? Can someone let me know in the comments why he had to do them both at the same time? You'd think Disney would have let him finish Batman first, but who knows. Anyway, that's why Henry Selick came in to take Burton's place as director. Selick would go on to direct films such as James and the Giant Peach and Coraline, which I and many other people thought that Tim Burton did. I always felt that they had a slightly different feel than other Burton projects, though. But when the poster says, "From the director of Nightmare Before Christmas," you just go with it. The script for The Nightmare Before Christmas took a while to finish, which led to them eventually replacing the screenwriter. Tim Burton and Danny Elfman wrote many of the songs before the script was even done so that the animators could actually start making the movie. This was not the first film Elfman and Burton worked on either. Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman's actor, loved the band Oingo Boingo so much that he wanted its lead singer, Danny Elfman, to do the music for Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Tim Burton, the director of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Danny Elfman would then go on to do Beetlejuice and Batman, which were huge successes. Even though Tim Burton was not the director and was not involved every day in its making, he still had the final say on everything involving the film. For example, he said that he wanted Halloween Town to only be black, white, and orange, and that it should not have any right angles. He said he wanted it to cut you if you were big enough to run your hands over the town. He also made the decision to change the ending of the film, where it would have been revealed that Oogie Boogie was actually just the scientist, Dr. Finkelstein, in disguise. Burton hated this, so he made them change it to the one in the final film. The Nightmare Before Christmas had a budget of $18 million and made $50 million in its initial release. It was considered a sleeper success, but after its initial release, it kind of just quietly went away for a while. It took about a decade for it to really hit its stride in popularity and to become the major success that it has become. It has had several additional theatrical runs starting in 2006 and would go on to gross a total of $107.8 million by 2023. Now, let's talk about the source material for the film. Tim Burton wrote his poem in 1981 by putting a spooky satirical spin on the 1823 poem, The Night Before Christmas. This poem was first published anonymously under the title Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas. Authorship has been attributed to Clement Clark Moore, who claimed authorship in 1837, but it has also been suggested that Henry Livingston Jr. may have written it. It has been called arguably the best known verses ever written by an American, is largely responsible for how we view Santa Claus, and it has had a massive effect on the history of Christmas gift giving. Before the poem gained wide popularity, American ideas had varied considerably about St. Nicholas and other Christmas visitors. Tim Burton was inspired to write his iteration after seeing Halloween decorations taken down and being replaced by Christmas displays. The title of the poem and subsequent movie came from a pun within the poem. It was The Nightmare Before Christmas, and thus he birthed a franchise that hasn't dwindled in popularity in the 30 years since its inception. Burton's original poem only had 11 minutes worth of content, so plenty of elements had to be added to the movie adaptation. Among these changes was the addition of Sally, who shares a romantic arc with Jack. The poem has more of a creepily wholesome, short children's book vibe, but the story needed more for it to become the fleshed out movie musical we know and love. Even though The Nightmare Before Christmas wasn't an instant success in theaters, it's no secret that it has gained a very faithful cult fan base that has given the film a second life years after its release. After all, anytime you walk down any Christmas or Halloween aisle in a store, you're bound to see at least one Jack Skellington piece of merchandise. No one can deny the life and legacy that continues to live on through its fans, both old and new, and the impact the film has had on the movie industry as a whole. What was the first Tim Burton film or project that you ever saw? Did you see the original airing of Hansel and Gretel? If you saw it as a child on the Disney Channel, what did you think? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what other horror movies or books you'd like to know the story behind their story.